My name is Alex, and lately, everyone around me seems convinced that I'm mentally ill. It all started when I was working at a stock exchange office, making good money, and mingling with some well-known individuals. Life was pretty good, and I had a close friend at the office named Nathan. Plus, every night, I went home to my loving fiancé Henry. But one fateful night, things started to take a bizarre turn. Henry began bombarding me with endless calls and texts, growing increasingly concerned about my absence at home. I understood his worry, but his persistent behavior was driving me to the brink of madness. However, it wasn't just Henry. My best friend Nathan started acting incredibly strange. He began showing up to work in flashy, expensive cars, dressed head to toe in designer clothes, and his face had undergone so much plastic surgery it resembled a porcelain doll. When I asked about the source of his newfound wealth, he cryptically replied, "I'll tell you when the time is right." Unable to resist the temptation any longer, I did something I knew was wrong. I sneaked into Nathan's office on a day when he was absent from work, my curiosity getting the best of me. After searching for about 5 minutes, I started feeling like I was losing my mind. I even found myself sniffing his dirty shirt in his office closet, trying to pick up any clues. Finally, my persistence paid off as I stumbled upon a note that would shatter my perception of Nathan. The note revealed that he had been embezzling substantial amounts of money from his clients over the past few weeks. And this wasn't just a case of pocketing a few 20s here and there. He had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars. Shockingly, I found my own name and credit card number at the bottom of the list, even though I had never been one of his clients. He had been pilfering from my accounts too. Without thinking, I took the paper to my boss, informing him of the situation. He assured me they would call the police to initiate an investigation. The following day, Nathan entered my office to talk, and he returned a set of my notepads that he had discovered on the floor of his office. He recognized the silly pink pads adorned with flowers that I used. It was a moment of embarrassment, but deep down, I knew it was over. He now knew that I was the one who had betrayed him. Moments later, the police officer stormed into the room and handcuffed Nathan. She screamed at me, vowing that I would pay for what I had done. Her words sent shivers down my spine, but I knew there was little she could do. A few days later, as I was returning home from work, a burly man dressed all in black began to trail me. I crossed the street, and to my dismay, he followed suit. When I picked up my pace, so did he. Panic surged through me, and before I knew it, I had taken a wrong turn into a dimly lit alleyway. With only one way out, the man relentlessly pursued me. Desperate to escape, I rounded a corner and tried to put some distance between us. I couldn't fathom what he might do to me, so I attempted to squeeze under a sharp chain-link fence to evade him. Unfortunately, my hips became wedged in the process, and I could hear him drawing closer as I struggled to free myself. I couldn't afford to die in that alley. Ultimately, I managed to pry the fence open just enough to squeeze my body through, but it tore the front of my shirt wide open. I walked home, clutching my chest, mortified and terrified. All I wanted was for Henry to comfort me, but instead, he exploded in anger, demanding to know why my shirt was torn. I desperately told him that someone had tried to harm me, hoping that my words would quell his fury, but it only seemed to escalate his madness. In a nervous mumble, I awkwardly added that I had been attacked by a hippo. I have no idea how that absurd excuse slipped out, but it was clear that Henry saw right through my lie. Stress consumed me as I ventured into work the next morning. Thankfully, my boss informed me that he was sending me to a conference a few hours away, where I would need to stay in a hotel. I had a chance to escape the clutches of the creepy stalker at the conference. However, upon arriving at the event, I felt an overwhelming tension in the air. My attempts at striking up conversations with clients and fellow stock market professionals were met with cold, distant stares, as if I were a ghost haunting the place. Doubts began to gnaw at me. Did my breath smell? Had I said something foolish? By the second day, people actively avoided me, even recoiling as I approached them. It was as if I were carrying a contagious disease, and folks were genuinely afraid to be near me. The mounting isolation became unbearable. I finally cornered someone and inquired what was wrong. She tearfully revealed the truth, that they had been threatened. Someone had warned them that interacting with me would lead to harm, that doing business with me was a mistake, and that I couldn't be trusted. When I pressed her for the identity of this menacing influence, she pointed out of the window into the courtyard. There, standing in the open, was none other than the stranger who had pursued me in the alley. A chill ran down my spine. Had Nathaniel gone to such lengths, even from behind bars, I knew I had to make a hasty exit. Without a moment's hesitation, I raced toward the elevators, my only desire being to retreat to my room and hide for the rest of the day. Unsurprisingly, I could hear heavy footsteps echoing behind me. Glancing back, I saw the stalker sprinting down the hallway in relentless pursuit. Desperation gripped me as I hammered the elevator button, willing it to arrive faster. However, the elevator seemed sluggish, tormenting me with its tardiness. Finally, its door swung open just in the nick of time, sealing me inside as the man lunged toward them. I spent the rest of the day pacing in my room, frantically contemplating my next move. Had Nathaniel orchestrated this encounter with the stranger, or perhaps something even more sinister? Every time I peered through the peephole, I held my breath, praying that the man wouldn't be lurking outside. It became apparent that I had to make a swift escape, returning home where I could consider my options, possibly involving the police. In the morning, I resolved to call Henry and inform him of my intention to return. As I settled into bed, my fingers brushed against something hard within my pillow. I reached in and extracted a microphone. My heart plummeted when I realized the man had been inside my room. Panic gripped me, and I frantically searched the entire room. I uncovered microphone after microphone, and countless cameras stared back at me. At last, I had concrete evidence, but it became painfully clear that my room was no longer safe. I dashed down to the lobby, tears streaming down my face, and informed the manager that I was being stalked, and that someone had bugged my room. The police arrived and accompanied me back to my room, which offered some relief. This was the moment I thought would finally put an end to the relentless drama involving Nathaniel. However, upon entering the room, we were met with an empty space. All the microphones, all the cameras, they had vanished without a trace. That's when I completely lost control. I screamed, pleading with them to believe me, insisting that I was being followed and that my life was in jeopardy. I blocked the hallway, adamantly refusing to let them leave me behind. Then, a medical team arrived, attempting to calm me down, but I put up a fierce struggle. One of them managed to grab hold of me and handcuffed my wrists. They swiftly bundled me into the back of their vehicle and transported me to a facility. When they ushered me into that eerie, all-white room, I sensed I was in deep trouble. They claimed it was all a product of my imagination, but I knew otherwise. I had seen the microphones, the wires, the evidence was real. With my hands cuffed behind my back, I summoned the strength to push one of the doctors aside. I bolted from the facility, with a horde of people in pursuit. By the time I reached the woods, I was gasping for breath, utterly drained. I trekked for hours until I stumbled upon a mechanic's shop on the outskirts of town. I beseeched a man there to cut the handcuffs, and he obliged, freeing my hands. It was clear to me that I had to uncover the truth, to force Nathaniel to confess her deeds. I journeyed to the nearby prison, knowing that's where she'd be. After signing in as a visitor, I waited in a dim, foreboding waiting room for her to appear. Would she agree to meet with me? What if she had ulterior motives, intending to harm me? Finally, Nathaniel emerged, her appearance resembling that of someone who had aged 2 decades in a short span. Tears welled up in my eyes the moment I laid eyes on her. The flood of emotions overwhelmed me, and she heartlessly laughed at my tears. Leaning over the table, she taunted me relentlessly, threatening to come after me. I couldn't hold back any longer. Her stalker's torment was pushing me to my limits. Through sobs, I begged her to stop. Upon hearing my plea, she seemed to freeze, as if she'd seen a ghost. That's when she dropped a bombshell. She hadn't sent anyone to stalk me. No one from her world on the outside was in contact with her now that she was incarcerated. My heart sank, and the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. If she wasn't behind the stalking and the hidden cameras, then I had another mysterious stalker. I demanded to know why she had been threatening me, and she admitted it was because she was furious about my report. I couldn't bear the conversation any longer. I bolted out of the room, leaving her shouting after me. As I made my way to the subway, tears streamed down my face. I immediately called Henry in distress. He answered the phone with excitement in his voice, mentioning that he had a surprise for me and inquiring about my whereabouts. I told him I was on my way back to the hotel, but my voice trembled with anguish. The stalker, the police arresting me, the bugged room, it was all too much to handle. Though surprised, Henry tried to soothe my frayed nerves. He urged me to come home, assuring me that we would visit the police together and he would protect me, even if it meant taking a break from work for a while. For the first time in days, I felt a semblance of calm wash over me. We were determined to unravel this mystery together. Had Henry come to surprise me? I dashed back to the hotel to confront Henry. Yet, As I hurried toward my room, my heart sank when I spotted the stalker standing right outside my door, clutching cameras and wires. I stood frozen in shock. What was going on? But the shock didn't end there. Henry emerged from my room, holding even more wires. It was beyond belief. Was Henry involved in all of this? Did he know the stalker? My anger surged, and I unleashed a barrage of screams and questions at Henry. He couldn't evade the truth any longer. He confessed to the horrible reality. He explained that I had been coming home late from work, which led him to suspect infidelity. He had hired the man to uncover the truth initially, but after he saw the stalker follow me in the alley, he altered his plan. Henry admitted to hiring the stalker to scare me, believing it would deter me from going out at night or anywhere other than his house. To make matters worse, he had activated the location tracking on my phone, convinced that I would call the man I was supposedly cheating with. He had the investigator plant wires in my pillow and install hidden cameras in my room. He even went so far as to inform people at the conference to keep their distance from me, so I wouldn't engage with anyone else. My world crumbled before me. Henry's actions not only jeopardized my professional life, but also nearly pushed me into a mental institution. I told him it was over, and I hastily booked a flight home to pack my belongings. It was clear that Henry was the one with the issues, not me. Despite my unwavering loyalty, he had shown a complete lack of trust, resorting to hiring a creepy stalker. I'd rather be alone than be with someone who doubted me so profoundly.